Young Thug and Gunna and R.I.C.O. Here's what we know. This is being brought by state prosecutors, not federal prosecutors. What are they saying these guys did? With Gunna, I don't think they say that he did anything. With Young Thug, they say that he rented a car in 2014. That car was used in a 2015 murder, and they say that people came up to Young Thug asking for his permission to kill YFN Lucci while he was in jail. Now, no real overt criminal acts on either of these guys, but you gotta know how R.I.C.O. works. With R.I.C.O., they try to prove that you're in a gang, and once they prove you're in a gang, they're then able to charge you with the crimes of other gang members. So even if you don't pull the trigger, but they prove you're in a gang, you can get hit with murder. As to how they're proving that these guys are in a gang with Thug, I guess they're just kind of showing it by circumstantial evidence. People are coming up to him. He's offering money. He's giving out resources. With Gunna, they say, look, he's wearing this YSL pendant. He's flashing signs. He's talking about the gang and music. A lot of, kind of just wishy-washy stuff. We'll ultimately see what happens with this case. First things first, they got to get a bond. If they get a bond, you can fight on the outside much easier.
A lot of people get confused by this. They think every time they hear RICO, it's got to be federal. RICO is a federal law. Only the federal government enforces it. No, there's also state RICO laws. So Georgia has its own RICO law. It's a little bit different than the federal law. All RICO basically gets to the same point, which is they're trying to show that there's an enterprise, in this case the gang, and that enterprise has a specific purpose, whether it's to make money, to gain territory, whatever it is, and that everybody coordinates their activity to achieve that purpose.
The prosecutor who brought this case against the alleged YSL gang is very interesting. Last year around this time, she brought a case against the alleged YFN gang. And she's been talking a lot about using RICO to bring down street gangs. Not just to bring down street gangs. She was talking about using RICO to criminally prosecute Donald Trump and local officials in the state of Georgia, arguing that they were a criminal conspiracy, a group who committed crimes with a common purpose to overturn the results of the 2020 election in the state of Georgia. You have to understand, the way the RICO law is written, it's just very general. It's very vague, and it can be applied to a whole lot of situations. And so if you have big name defendants, headline grabbing defendants, people with a lot of money, a lot of star power, and they're involved in some way in some wrongdoing, and you could go ahead and grab them and snap them up and slap their name on an indictment, guess what? It's going to happen.
I have reviewed the indictment. The only charge on Gunna is the RICO charge. They don't have him charged with doing anything. They don't have him selling a kilo of cocaine. They don't have him pulling the trigger, buying a gun, possessing a gun, nothing. The only charge against Gunna is that he was actually in the gang, that he participated in it directly or indirectly. So that could mean a lot of things. That could mean, hey, we know you're in the gang and you were at this thing and you chipped in. That kind of thing can get you charged. I'll tell you the charges against Thug. There's 56 individual counts. 2 of those counts are against Young Thug. There's 28 defendants. Some defendants have like 7, 8 counts, murder, robbery, all this. As to Young Thug, he's only got 2 counts. One is conspiracy to violate the RICO Act, which is basically direct or indirect participation in a gang. Okay, the second is kind of sounds like the first. It's participation in criminal gang activity. So not clear exactly what crime they're saying, but they're saying there was a crime and Thug was involved in it. The Gunna charge carries a sentence of 5 to 20. If they find him guilty of conspiracy to violate the Georgia State RICO Act, he's facing 5 to 20. Now, do I think he's been overcharged? Do I think prosecutors in the state of Georgia are overcharging and using RICO in a way that it's not intended to be used, charging a guy for basically just being seen around the gang or hanging out with the gang without actually having done any crimes? Yes, I absolutely think that's happening to Gunna. So if you just hear the headline in the Young Thug Gunna case, it doesn't make any sense. Let me break it down for you. Here's the headline. 26 defendants charged in 56-count RICO indictment. Now, that does not mean that Young Thug and Gunna were hit with 56 counts. In fact, Young Thug was only hit with 2 counts. Gunna was only hit with 1 count. None of those are counts like murder, extortion, robbery, sort of general crimes that the public has an understanding of. Instead, of the other 28 people who were named, the other individuals in this indictment, they're the people accused of murder. They're the people accused of this other stuff. However, as to Young Thug and Gunna, there's actually very little detail on what they're actually being charged with. For Gunna, all they say is that he directly or indirectly participated in a gang, and for that, he's facing 5 to 20 years. For Young Thug, they say he directly or indirectly participated in a gang and that he was involved in criminal street gang activity. Some people are speculating that has to do with ordering hits or paying for cars. Kim Kardashian posted this picture on her Instagram stories last night after news of the RICO indictment against Gunna and Young Thug broke. There she is, pushing P, repping the slime green. That's me messaging her, slat, slat, slat. This is a very important development. Here's a hot take for you. One possible outcome in this case is the defendants challenge the constitutionality of the Georgia RICO statute as it's applied to them, arguing that it's so vague it violates my constitutional rights. Powerful figures like Kim K can be involved in.
I knew it was coming. And it's everybody should be mad as hell. Page 32. Predicate Act, intent to distribute marijuana. Two worldwide stars, once their careers had taken off, Gunna and Young Thug, are being involved in a RICO indictment in part on the Georgia County prosecutor's decision to say that a predicate act under their state's RICO Act is these rappers having large amounts of weed on them. I read the 88-page indictment. I'm going to tell you what it says specifically about Young Thug and Gunna, and then I'm going to explain to you why I think a motion to dismiss, why I think the defendants in this case will say that this indictment doesn't even tell me what I did, let alone show that I committed any criminal activity. According to the government, in 2013, Young Thug possessed what he knew was a stolen gun. In 2014, he rapped about prostitution, drugs, murder. In 2015, he rented a car that they say was used in a murder, and he later rapped about the murder. So the car was rented in his name. Was he in the car? No details at all. Then they say in 2015, he had a conversation with another high-ranking gang member, and they were discussing organization, lineups, what everybody's position is in the gang. I don't know. Maybe they were planning a vacation. Then another 2015 incident, they say that a rival gang member said, hey, you're not allowed in this mall, okay? And then Young Thug said, yo, if you get in my face, I'm going to shoot you, okay? And the prosecutors say that that is a terroristic threat in furtherance of a gang, puts him on the hook. 2016, they say, again, you had possession of what you should have known was a stolen gun. 2017, they say that you did one of several things, either sold hydrocodone, sold methamphetamine, or sold marijuana. Then they say later you were in a car with Gunna, and you and Gunna were in one car, and behind you was another car with 4 people with automatic weapons, and each of them had automatic, not in your car, I don't know if they're illegal, but they were automatic weapons with high-capacity magazines. In 2021, they say that you went to a prison, Young Thug, and in that prison you met somebody. That somebody said, I need something. You flashed a sign, said, take care of it, and then your partner said, okay. That's the entirety of the allegation. There's also a bunch of allegations that Young Thug and Gunna rapped and were, involved in the distribution of marijuana, and that they rapped a lot about stuff, and they flashed gang signs a lot. Yeah, Gunna's facing 5 to 20. Young Thug has 2 counts, each 5 to 20. Now, if they don't get a bond on this, that's trash. Young Thug was scheduled to make his first appearance in court today at 11:30. His lawyers chose to waive that appearance. The reason why, they probably want more time to get his bond application ready. At the first appearance, you're going to ask the judge for a bond. And when you ask the judge for a bond, you want to have all your arguments ready. And in particular, you want to have people from the community who know you and support you stand up and show out and say, I know this guy. This guy is not going to be a menace to society. This guy is going to be here for all his court hearings. I can vouch for him. And so they're going to want to round those folks up. They're not ready to do that this morning at 11:30. They're going to take a couple days. Now, we will see when that date is scheduled for. As I have said, bond is so important. Here's why. If you're out on bond, you can fight these charges for years and years and years, discussing that they're not specific enough, that they haven't put you on notice, that the law itself is unconstitutional as written and as applied to you. But good luck doing that if you don't have a bond, because that takes many years, and people who are sitting in prison, they don't like to sit. District Attorney holds a press conference on the RICO indictment involving Young Thug and Gunna. The reporter is going to ask a very simple question about why wasn't one name on there. Listen to how sensitive she gets.
The indictment got Young Thug and a bunch of other rappers. There was one name I was actually expecting to see there that I didn't. That's Jack Harlow. I was actually expecting to see there that I didn't. That's Jack Harlow. Can you speak to that?
What I'll tell you is that as large as this indictment is, let's not be sexy, let's not overreach. Let's be conservative in our approach, which is always the approach that I take. And in taking that approach, 28 defendants were indicted, and they were indicted for the crimes that I believe were appropriate for this RICO indictment. And so I won't speak to any.
He just asked, I thought this name would be in there. He didn't say anything about overreaching, you going for sexy people. Sounds like you're sensitive about that. And then she claims I'm being conservative.